As the world continues to process how an assassination attempt could take place on one of the world's most powerful people, parents and leaders are faced with a dilemma no one wanted. Should you and how do you speak to a child about an assassination attempt on a former and likely next American president? I mean, this is unthinkable, right? Well, let's talk about that. Let's be clear. We should and we must have the conversations around an assassination attempt on President Donald Trump. Few events in history are as significant as what just took place in the last couple of weeks here in America. And parents and other youth leadership must process this event with young people. They're thinking about it. This is in the forefront of their discussions as they begin school here. And so how do we help them process this? After dozens of conversations with teenagers in the last few weeks since that shocking event, here are my takeaways on how I think young people are processing this and maybe how to help them through this national trauma. The following are real life statements. I'm going to give you some statements that young people have made directly to me. Teenagers have made directly to me. And I want to give you my thoughts and maybe a response that will help you navigate what they're thinking right now. Okay? Here's the first thought. I never thought that would happen in my lifetime. Even though teenagers today are raised in this era of political instability and war and terrorism, being an American makes them feel safe, right? Like events like this are not supposed to happen. And so an assassination attempt on a former president is a shock to that security. However, teenagers need to understand that while this was a near miss, there were American heroes that were on that stage and in that park that day. Celebrate the men and the women of the Secret Service who give their life to protect the president. And the American resilience made very clear in that rally as President Trump stood and the crowd chanted, USA, USA, right? It was inspiring, wasn't it? Let's get our focus on that. Then contrast that shooting with the heroism that brought our nation to this point. This is what hate and demonization does. It makes the senseless possible. Ask young people how they will shape an America where people agree to disagree, right? Without demonizing those views that other people have. All right, here's the second statement. That is actually scary. What took place was scary. It was, right? And they have a right to feel that way. What is important to remember is that there were several things that helped neutralize the situation so that it did not become worse. So this is a good opportunity to remind young people, maybe in that trauma, in that fear, to remind them that God's hand has always been on America. Call President Trump's survival what it really was, a miracle orchestrated by God, by a sovereign God for his own purposes, right? Just the slight turn of the head or the wind, right? We've seen the studies. God is in control. Young people need to know that. And not only did we see the terrifying hand of evil at work, we also saw the timely hand of God at work in our nation, right? The terrifying work of evil and the timely work of God, who is a sovereign God still in control, even when society may seem like it is out of control. That's the message we bring young people in their fear. Young people need to be reminded that there are security measures in place in government, in the private sector, in public places, and even at their schools, right? And if they feel unsafe or uncertain, we must all practice that age-old mantra, right? See something, say something. That should That should be a strong reminder to our young people that ultimate security is in the proximity of a sovereign God, right? And he will take care of them. Listen, here's another statement. He's going to win the election now. Well, we don't know about that, right? Time will tell. But it's interesting that so many young people see that as like a catalyst, that good things could come out of bad things. That's how I take that, right? Whether or not President Trump wins the presidency, there's another good thing that will come out of this. It is a wake-up call for all of America's political leaders that things must change with the way that we behave in politics, right? Think about that. We have to do politics different in this country. 8 years, just think about the last 8 years of demonizing Donald Trump and all of his supporters. It has consequences. He shouldn't be demonized, nor should any of his competitors in this upcoming election process. One of the things that I have been sharing with young people recently is the importance of their voices. This is a perfect time for young people to understand and for them to realize how powerful voting really is in our democratic society. I'm going to talk more about this in another podcast coming up, but we have an opinion, right? But an opinion isn't enough. It's not enough if we don't vote, right? Do not worry about opinions, right? Opinions haven't put anyone in office, right? The responsibility is to vote. We put people in office when we vote, not with our opinion, right? Hey, here's the last comment that was made through this assassination attempt. This is a bad look on us, right? This is a bad look on America. Sure, it is. We see politics unraveling all over the world. The global process of election has been hurt for sure. But we also need to celebrate democracy. That when an assassin's bullet rips through a crowd, right, and does the damage that it did, we don't have to cower away. We pray for those that lost lives. We pray for those who were injured. We pray for those who are in trauma. But we face these things as a society with the right to speak up and to vote for a candidate of choice and to have the conversations that we're having with civility. So what we've seen in history is that we want to show our young people that America's low-light reels and the highlight reels of every other country, they don't match, right? You have to look at all of a democratic society. America is still the greatest country in the world. America is still the leader in politics, the leader in economy, the leader in religion, the leader in society. And this is actually a great time to remind our young people of this country's indelible mark on global history while everyone else is watching us, right? Listen, finally, one thing we must all keep in mind is that young people are actually often more resilient than adults. They still believe they are invincible. Yes, that's true. And they should be taught that their country is strong also. They are not shielded or protected from hardship and difficulty. Difficulty will happen. Being resilient doesn't mean that nothing of difficulty or hardship or chaos will never come our way. Being resilient means I'm going to handle this the right way. I'm going to handle this horror because I know how to handle these things with my faith and with my people, right? Listen, this conversation is a lot. It's so important to have these critical conversations with young people. Don't forget to check out the manuscript because we have a lot of extra help on this. There are other practical things that we talk about. And we all need a little more truth in our world and a little more understanding, a little more faith in our world as we deal with God's hand on our country. And when bad things happen, What do good people do? You get that? When bad things happen, what are good people going to do? This is more than a teachable moment. This is a crisis, but we want to turn crises, right, into a teachable moment that brings healing to our young people. So hopefully this helps you. Man, you know where to check us out. Go to the link tree on all the socials, and you can watch this on our YouTube channel. You can listen to this on the iTunes podcast. You can read the manuscript, and you can follow along with all of our publications and our podcasts right on our website at ythology.com.